Hey guys, I'm going to pick up on my reading of Ecclesiastes, chapters 4, 5, and 6. And that's about society and money. And remember, Koheleth's theme here is everything is vanity. I come again to contemplate all the oppression that is committed under the sun. Take, for instance, the tears of the oppressed, with no one to protect them. The power their oppressors wield, no one to protect them. So in that passage, and where I pick up maybe this concept of compassion in Koheleth, at the same time, maybe it's a little more cold observational approach. Not sure about that. I tend to favor an interpretation of compassion there. Well, okay, Koheleth is saying, look at the tears of the oppressed. Like, observe them. Just look at them. Just watch. There's people who are suffering and people are oppressing them, and no one is helping them. I'm not helping them. No one's helping them. Okay? Nobody's there to help them. They're just suffering. Okay? That's vanity. Right there. So rather than the living who still have lives to live, I salute the dead who have already met death. Happier than both of these who is yet unborn, and has not seen the evil things that are done under the sun. Again, picking up on this theme of better, like in these circumstances, you wish you didn't even exist. You don't even want to exist. It's just like, would be better if better someone who never existed yet than people who face this kind of vanity of life. I see that all effort and all achievement spring from men's mutual jealousy. This too is vanity and chasing of the wind. The fool folds his arms and eats his own flesh away. Better one handful of repose than 2 hands full of effort in chasing the wind. So there, Koheleth is talking about mutual jealousy. So this is the source of people's effort and achievement, is jealousy of each other. It's this vain vanity, right? Trying to get more than the other. And he's saying the fool folds his hands, so he doesn't work. He doesn't actually try to pursue this achievement and effort, but he's envious of those who have it. Like he's getting eaten a lot. He's eaten himself away with his hatred, bitterness, right, and resentment, and it's like, so that's, a fool versus maybe a wise person would at least try hard, right? But it's all vanity. And so he's saying, well, at least if you could have some repose and some rest, and at least some contentment, right? That's a good thing, right? And I observe another vanity under the sun. A man is quite alone, no son, no brother, and yet there is no end to all his efforts. His eyes can never have their fill of riches. For whom then do I work so hard and begrudge myself pleasures? This too is vanity, a sorry business. So here, the author is turning to a person who is kind of isolated in that pursuit of achievement and work, and he's like, again, this theme is really massive for Koheleth of like the effort it takes to work. Like this is so hard for him. He finds it so difficult to strive and achieve and work, and it's hard, it's difficult and frustrating at times. And why are you doing that if not for another person? You're just trying to get it for yourself. And he says, better 2 than 1 by himself, since thus their work is really profitable. If one should fall, the other helps him up. But woe to the man who by himself, with no one to help him up, when he falls down. Again, they keep warm who sleep 2 together. But how can a man keep warm alone? Where one would be overcome, 2 will put up resistance, and a 3-fold cord is not quickly broken. So, if you fall down, someone there to help you up, if you're, traveling in the freezing desert at night, isolated and alone, exposed to the elements, better to have two people who are sleeping together who can keep warm together. And if somebody attacks you and you're alone, you might be overtaken, but two people could maybe fight back, or three people together. And I think that goes back to the previous theme of a person who's kind of isolated and alone in their pursuit of achievement. Better a lad, beggarly yet wise, than a king old yet foolish, who will no longer take advice. The lad may well step from prison to the throne, or have been born a beggar in the kingdom he now owns. So Guelph is giving this example here of, okay, let's take another example of society where a person, kind of maybe like the story of Joseph, he was thrown in prison, he ended up becoming, the prince of Egypt, something like that. Maybe this is a different example here, but he's giving this example of the king is foolish, and he's like dethroned. But this wise youth, like maybe he could actually achieve something. He could actually become the king. I observe that all who live and move under the sun side with that lad, the usurper who has succeeded. He takes his place at the head of innumerable subjects. Sad, if later, no one has cause to be glad with him. This too most certainly is vanity and chasing of the wind. So maybe saying, well, maybe that youth who became the king, later in his life, nobody, like people who weren't there when he became king, they won't really remember him. They won't respect him anymore. They won't be glad with him. And so maybe just pursuing that reputation and those positions too is vanity. Maybe, no, it is. He's saying, yes, it is, for sure. When you go to the temple, be on your guard. All right, so this is a very dramatic shift in the style of writing in Ecclesiastes. Here it's all of a sudden talking about you. He's saying, giving advice, telling you what to do. Okay, so this is a very different style. Still on this theme of vanity here. When you go to the temple, be on your guard. Go near so that you can hear. The sacrifice is more valuable than the offering of fools, even if they are unaware what they are doing is wrong. Even if they are unaware of doing wrong. Okay, sorry. All right, so now these words are all kind of nailed together in a kind of a coherent manner. So he's talking about religion, or like society. Maybe they wouldn't distinguish religion too much from other elements of society. So when you go into the house of God, again, we're talking about son of David, king in Jerusalem, right? This is probably Solomon's temple, okay? So someone's going to the temple, the priests are making sacrifices, saying, draw near, right? Kind of keep your ears open and keep your mouth shut, right? Like this here, he's talking about sacrifice is more important, more valuable than the offering of fools. So again, here's this theme of vanity, right? Vanity in this religious worship. So people are kind of going there, be like, oh yeah, everybody's going to pray. I'm gonna bring my offering too, and I'll put my offering up there, and I did my job, and that's good. He's like, no, like sacrifice. The word sacrifice has this element of pain. It's like slaughtering the animal, killing it, draining its blood, and it's like the personal sacrifice, cutting one's own heart, kind of like going down on your knees and offering it to God, right? He's saying this is more valuable than just making an offering. Kind of approaching, the temple, the house of God, with vanity. Be in no hurry to speak. Do not hastily declare yourself before God. For God is in heaven, you on earth. Be sparing then of speech. Dreaming comes from much worrying, foolish talk from a multiplicity of words. So you're going to pray. Praise the Lord in the heavens, praise him in the heights, or Lord, I trust in you. You've saved me in the past. I trust you're going to help me again. Right? Okay, you're gonna seriously go there. You're gonna pray. Okay, now he's like, kind of like, slow down here. So like, this is dangerous stuff. Okay, like we're talking about vanity here in this, right? So, don't want to say some foolish words. If you make a vow to God, discharge it without delay. For God has no love for fools. Discharge your vow. Better a vow unmade than made and not discharged. Do not allow your own words to bring guilt on you, nor tell your angel afterward, it was unintentional. Why should a word of yours give God occasion to be angry and destroy what your hands have worked for? That's a lot, I'll say. So first of all, like these are people going to the temple to make vows, and the priest, the messenger of God, is accepting the vows. These are public vows. These are like, I swear I'm going to do this. I promise to God I'm going to really offer this. And he's saying, okay, then keep your vow, keep your promise to God. And you're going to tell God's messenger, oh, I was a mistake, He's like, no, like, it's better, don't make a promise to God than make one and don't keep it. Right? This is like the third commandment. You shall not take the Lord's name in vain, right? I don't know. I have a lot to say about that, but I don't know how much I should get into it. I guess there's an element of the community involved. The vow made is a public thing, right? So it's harms the community, certainly. Community could be very right to exclude that individual, to kind of exile them, to put them on the margins of society, together with the lepers who rightly or wrongly are marginalized, the people who are going to infect others with diseases. Okay, they're marginalized. We have people, various classes of people who are marginalized, who are on the fringes of society. So this person's making a vow would, be marginalized by the community and suffer the psychological effects of being kicked out of the community. And then, of course, like on top of that, there's the question of the vow to God, and may be surprising to that individual to find out, like, oh my gosh, like the angel is actually using my words against me. Like, this is actually an accusatory thing. Like, I'm actually like walking away from God here. Like, this is actually really like happening. And, this is, oh, well, no, it was not really what I meant. Like, there's some explanation here. Like, okay, well, that's, it's right on there. Like, so I don't know, I guess better not to make a promise to God. I do struggle with that too. Even the social pressure. Oh, come on, just, come and, baptize the kid, or come bring them to church, or, or baptize, just like join in, and, God will be there for you, and things like that. It's like, I don't know, like, there is an element where you say, the more the knowledge, the more the suffering, the more you become kind of culpable at some level. And there is a thing like, is it really better for someone to be ignorant than to be knowledgeable, right? Like, while Ecclesiastes at some level maybe it's inevitable, he's in this position of knowledge. He continues to learn and to teach people. He's saying, okay, well, at least I'll teach them, don't make mistakes like making bad promises to God. Like, just don't do it. He wants to teach them, but yet he's kind of somehow making them more culpable by teaching them about these things, right? So maybe it would be better not to even know anything about God or religion, right? Anyway, don't listen to me, I'm like stupid here. Okay. For every dream, a vanity to match. Too many words, a chasing of the wind. There you go. Therefore, fear God. If in a province you see the poor oppressed, right and justice violated, do not be surprised. You will be told that officials are under the supervision of superiors who are supervised in turn. You will hear talk of the common good and the service of the king. And this is why I sort of interpret Koheleth as being a little bit kind of compassionate, even if maybe he's not doing anything to help those oppressed people, or maybe he can't, because there, at least in this interpretation, this translation, he's not saying like, don't worry about it. He's not saying like, okay, if you see the something terrible happening in society and people are saying, oh, listen, this is just for the common good. These scum of the earth, like, they're not following the law. These are criminals. This is the law. Yeah, some people are going to suffer. Some families are going to be destroyed if, their criminal, whatever, family member is thrown into prison. But this is the law. We're just following the law. And, don't worry about it. Someone else is watching it. It's all under control. I don't think that's exactly what he's saying. I think he's just saying, no, like, don't be surprised if this happens. Like, if people say, look, you got to lay down your life for the common good. You just got to go, on this crusade or whatever. Like, this is for the service of the king, for the common good. We got to go and it's all a systemic injustice. The whole thing, the whole enterprise is not just kind of bad at individual levels, individuals without integrity. Systemically, the community as a whole is taking part in systemic evil. Like, don't be surprised by that. Like, that's also vanity, that this is happening. Money. He who loves money never has money enough. He who loves wealth never has enough profit. Sorry. This too is vanity. Where goods abound, parasites abound. And what is the good of them to their owner? That he can feast his eyes on them? The laborer's sleep is sweet, whether he has eaten little or much. But the rich man's wealth will not let him sleep at all. Okay, I struggle too with that one a little bit, kind of comparing like a laborer who doesn't have enough food to eat at the end of the day. His children are crying, hungry, and like, comparing that to someone like, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about my, Dolce & Gabbana suit that I might get something on it. Oh, someone might scratch my beautiful car. Like, oh, your worries about wealth, grass is greener on the other side, maybe. Okay, but like, he's saying it, so I'm gonna like take it, right? And like, yeah, the grass is greener on the other side, and then you go over there and maybe it's not. And then, I don't know, like, maybe on the other side, your hope is going to be crushed. He talks about like resentment and bitterness and despair. So there is a great injustice that I observe under the sun. Riches stored and turning to a loss for their owner. One unlucky venture, and those riches are lost. A son is born to him, and he has nothing to leave him. Naked from his mother's womb he came. As naked as he came, he will depart again. Nothing to take with him after all his efforts. This is a grievous wrong, that as he came, so must he go. What profit can he show after toiling to earn the wind, as he spends the rest of his days in darkness, grief, worry, sickness, and resentment? So again, this theme of like kind of like maybe like a miserly person is like, he's kind of bitter and angry, and it's like, well, why is that really? You go closer, like, okay, so he worked for all this money, and either it was lost or he can't keep it when he dies. So he's beginning to introduce this theme of not being able to enjoy the money and not being able to take it with us when we die. right? And then he thinks this is like a terrible thing. Like, this then is my conclusion. The right happiness for men is to eat and drink and be content with all the work he has to do under the sun during the few days God has given him to live, since this is the lot assigned him. I want to make, I don't know, this just reminds me of the story of, what was it? I'm drawing a blank on the names. Maybe I better not tell the story, but there was a indigenous person in around Mexico during the time like the Spanish Inquisition and stuff like that, and he was kind of like a traditional healer in that region. The Spanish people had brought in a lot of like physicians, and they had this whole system that looked great on paper of like providing medicine for the locals and stuff, but actually the medicine wasn't fully effective against a lot of the local issues like snake bites and broken bones and stuff like that. And this guy was going around healing people, and this was not okay, right? He was put on the trial, and it kind of came up that because like it was all about association. Whether if you're more Spanish, then you are innocent. If you're less Spanish, you're more indigenous, then you're like other, right? You're not going to win the trial. So it kind of came out, much to the embarrassment of the accusers, that this guy was actually, while he was like going around like a mendicant, helping people who were suffering, he was actually extremely wealthy, and he had like lands and jewels and riches, and this all kind of came out during the trial. Great embarrassment to the accusers. But eventually, like, he was condemned. I think they only put him in the silver mines, and they whipped him and stuff like that for many years, and he kind of disappeared. But one of the kind of chieftains who was kind of ruling under the Spanish, he kind of went crazy when he saw this. Like this drove him insane. Like, he started going and ranting and raving, and he said, "You know what our tradition is? Eat, drink, and be merry, and have relations with your neighbor's wife, for tomorrow we die." And people weren't too happy with that message. Somehow, even though it's kind of here in Ecclesiastes, they thought it was so sacrilegious what he was saying, and they burned him. They burned that chieftain, and that was the last execution under the Spanish Inquisition. After that, I think, it got shut down after that. Like, that was like, the Pope was like, "Oh no, like, this is like, you gotta shut this down. Like, you guys cannot be burning the local chieftains, sorry, I'm not laughing about it. I mean, it's horrible. Like, it's a horrible story, but it just reminded me of that, eat, drink, be merry, have fun with your neighbor's wives, for tomorrow we die, right? That's not exactly what it says here in Ecclesiastes, like, obviously the point about adultery there, but it's kind of I was gonna say, though, there were a lot of secret Spanish Inquisitions after that. There were kind of like, they had altered insignia. They had these secret cathedrals where they carried out these kind of similar inquisitions and stuff like that. So that was there was a kind of a power that people lusted after in there. This then is my conclusion. Sorry, I just read that. I'll read it again. The right happiness for man is to eat and drink and be content with all the work he has to do under the sun during the few days God has given him to live, since this is the lot assigned him. And whenever God gives man riches and property with the ability to enjoy them and to find contentment in his work, this is a gift from God. He will not need to brood, at least, over the duration of his life, so long as God keeps his heart occupied with joy. So again, this is like the theme of this book, right? Everything is vanity, and what's best, well, we can determine, just try to eat, drink, try to enjoy, be content with your work. There is an evil I observe under the sun that weighs men down. Suppose a man has received from God riches, property, honors, nothing at all left for him to wish for. Yet God does not give him the chance to enjoy them, but some stranger enjoys them. There is vanity here, a grievous suffering. this is really seems to be alluding to this passage, I think in one of the Gospels, where Jesus tells a story of, the rich man, where he says to himself, "Soul, you have ample goods laid up for years, kind of to fulfill all your desires, and rest, take it easy, eat, drink, and be merry," right? And God says to him, "Fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and your riches, whose will they be?" So kind of a similar kind of concept here. He's saying that nothing at all left for him to wish for. So this guy has everything that he wants. He's saying, listen, money makes me happy. I have everything that I want. I literally don't want anything else. I have everything that I want. I am happy, period. And yet he doesn't get to enjoy them. So in this example, he's dying, but or somebody else is getting it. But there could be other limits that Koheleth is referring to, inability to enjoy. Again, we talked a little bit about giving away money. Like, how much can you enjoy money? You can give it away, okay, but can you really extract the kind of the pleasure out of it, right? Can you really buy stuff? Can you really enjoy them? You can give it all away in a big party or something like that, but can you really enjoy it, right? And then he says, or perhaps a man has 100 sons and as many daughters, and lived for many years, and then derives no benefit from his estate, not even a tomb to call his own. Why then, I say, better the untimely born than he. In darkness arriving, in darkness departing, even his name is wrapped in darkness. Never seeing the sun, never knowing the rest, the one no more than the other. So this idea of not even having a tomb, right? We would say like, oh, maybe that's just like old religions believed in, like, oh, you need to have a special burial to pass to the other world or something like that. Like, does the dead person really care if they're buried or not? We would say, oh, well, we want to treat the body with respect. We want to treat a corpse, like if you would treat a corpse badly, what will that do to you psychologically and your attitude towards life? But does the corpse really care if someone's dead? Do they care if they are buried or not? Well, if someone is not buried, I don't know if this is one interpretation, I don't know if this is what he's saying, but if someone has all these children, okay, so first of all, 100 children, 100 boys, 100 girls, sons and daughters, okay? So story of Solomon is that he had like 700 wives and 300 concubines, right? So this is son of David, king in Jerusalem. Okay, maybe it could be possible for someone to say, okay, well, this some people might actually really like that lifestyle, right? Like, imagine like hundreds of wives, like you have all these riches, lots of kids, success, all this. Like, some people say, actually, I would like to live like that. That would be awesome. But don't have a tomb, okay? Like, why would you not have someone to grieve over you if you died? Maybe because you're not really having that enjoyment of life. Maybe people don't even really love you, right? They maybe love your money, but do they really, so maybe there's an element there that you're not enjoying. You can't really enjoy it. Like, there's something there, maybe. I don't know. Better in darkness arriving, in darkness departing, never knowing the sun or the rest. So this idea of rest, I think he's saying it in a kind of a positive way. So I think he's sort of saying that rest is important. We see that a lot in the priestly tradition in the Bible. A lot, the priests were coming with on the seventh day, God rested, and rest is very important. And you have this routine of work and rest, and you have the Sabbath years where we rest for the year. We had COVID. COVID, I know it was devastating for many people, many businesses, and it was also a time for many people to rest. I know in Canada, I no comment on politics or here. I don't know anything about that, but a lot of mortgages were frozen, so there was things kind of rested, right? So that's an example of rest, and saying he's sort of saying hey, some periodic rest from things is probably good. Having some moment to rest as well is important. But better not even to no work or rest than not have a tomb. right? You're not really having that. You're not able to enjoy, if you can enjoy the life, right? Even if a man has lived 1,000 years twice over without deriving profit from his estate, do not both alike go to the same place? Man toils but to eat, yet his belly is never filled. So we're going to sum up a little bit here. What advantage has the wise man over the fool? And what about the pauper who keeps up appearances before his fellow men? Do appearances count more than the condition of the belly? This too is vanity and chasing of the wind. What has been already has a name, and what man is known. He cannot dispute with one stronger than himself. The more words, the greater the vanity of it all. And what does man get from it? Who knows what is good for man in his lifetime, in those few days he lives so vainly? Days that like a shadow he spends. Who can tell a man what will happen under the sun after his time? All right, so that wraps it up for these few chapters of Koheleth. Yeah, have a good rest of your day.